Tell.
So I was going through your second lecture, sir. We had done I think the balance sheet on that, and in that balance sheet we had come across one term. No, in the P&L statement we had come across the term. It was EPS. So in that EPS, the formula which I just saw through that Wikipedia was net income upon the weight average sales outstanding. So, and in some cases it was written net income minus preferred dividends. So I wanted to know this term. What is this preferred dividend? What does this mean?
Okay, preferred dividend means a company issued two kind of shares. Okay, so the two kind of shares are, one is a normal share which is known as an ordinary share, and the other one is known as one second, let me admit. And the other one is known as preference shares. Neha, I just tried to admit you. Yeah, now there are two sessions for you. So maybe you can log off from the mobile one and join through the laptop one.
Yeah.
So for the ordinary, so what happens is shareholders are paid last. So for any company, when you take a loan from someone, that person is known as the creditor of a company. So for example, you and me started the company, we both are the shareholders. Holding, say total share is 100, 50-50, we both hold. And we took a loan of X amount from Neha. So she becomes a creditor. So first we need to pay her the interest, then only we can, whatever is left is the profit, and that we will distribute to each other in the form of dividend. Preferred share is again another type of shareholder where basically what happens is, in a preferred share, instead of the ordinary share, the preferred shareholder will be given a fixed amount of dividend. So say I need another Y amount of rupees. So I will issue some preferred shares, say 100 preferred shares. And on that, I will agree a fixed amount of dividend of 10%. So it is like a bond, but it is not purely a bond because I will pay them after the bondholder. But the dividend, so the dividend will first be given to the preferred shareholder. So for example, in the year, the company made a profit of 100 rupees before interest. Then I had taken loan from Neha. So 20 rupees is the interest. So that I will pay to Neha. So 80 is left, which we call the net profit. Out from that 80 again, 10 rupees is what is agreed to be paid as dividend to Ranjit, which is the preferred dividend. So first I will pay that. Whatever remains 70 is for you and me.
Okay. So that is considered as the preferred dividend. So for example, now I wanted to know, like let's say a company has a preferred dividend and one company, same business, but their competitor, they don't have a preferred dividend. So in that case, how do we compare the EPS? Like for example, one company has a EPS of 3.05 and another company has, let's say, which does not have a preferred dividend, has 4. So it is normal that the one which will have preferred dividend will have a lower EPS. So then now while evaluating these two companies, how do we evaluate?
No. Don't look at it that way, right? So that doesn't matter. So only EPS matters. Why a company issued preference shares is they might have their own reasons, right? They may wanted to get some additional money and all of that. So that is why they wanted probably to have a preferred dividend. Just 1 second. Let me ask in the group. If these guys are not joining, we'll proceed.
Yes.
So basically only the EPS matters. Preferred dividend doesn't matter. The company might have issued preferred dividend, preferred shares because they didn't want to issue bonds. So they took the loan in the form of preferred shares. In a preferred dividend, what happens is that it is agreed that I will give 10% of dividend to that holder. So if they invested 100, they will get 10 rupees as dividend. But dividend is not guaranteed. They will be given preference, but if there is no profit, there will be no dividend given. Whereas for a bondholder, if I have taken a loan from you, say as a creditor, then it is mandatory. Whether even if I have a loss as a company, I have to give you your interest. That I cannot avoid. Whereas in a dividend, in a bad year, I can avoid paying the dividend. And then in a good year, I may pay back for the previous year also. So that is the advantage that company gets, that why they go for preferred dividend instead of bonds. So that depends on companies, but nowadays preferred dividend and all is changing. Again, it depends on nature of company. So different companies need different amount of cash. Like for example, Apple, right? It hardly needs any cash because it is generating too much cash actually. It is already highly profitable. So they don't need any more extra money. So different companies are different. So as these guys have not joined, I will start with what I wanted to cover today. Did I answer your question, Akash?
Huh?
Did I answer
Yes,
your
yes,
question?
it is clear. It is clear.
Okay. Fine. So I will share my screen. So can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the fact sheet that I have taken from the HDFC Bank website. So how I got it is I went to the HDFC Bank website. From the website, always at the bottom of every website, or you can directly put it in Google, but at the bottom or the top of every company's website, there will be a section called Investor Relations. You guys can see the screen, na?
Yes.
Yeah, under Investor Relations, you will always have events and presentations, at least for all the good companies. And in presentations, you will have so for this, I got it from financial information. So there you will have the fact sheet and all that. So from there I have taken it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So this fact sheet is a total of 32 pages where it talks about the HDFC Bank business in different parameters. So rather than just giving you the P&L and the balance sheet and cash flow like we got for Apple 3-pager, right? This has a lot more information. So this is a very good document to kind of understand the company in detail. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I will cover each of the pages and we can go through any question. And again, this will vary company by company. Okay, so for a bank, they have given information in a certain way. For other companies, they'll give information in some other way. Okay. Clear, Akash and Neha?
Yes.
Nishant, I have a question. Does it, when you are reading through, reading to 2 or 3 competitive companies, let's say HDFC Bank, Kotak Mahindra, etc., etc. So, what are you actually? I mean, even because even you will have probably 10 companies, big ones, which will which you want to see, but you cannot sort them out, sort all of them out. So what is the most preliminary thing that you will see to select those companies and to read the fact sheet?
Okay, so basically, I'm trying to think if I got the question correctly. So in order to start your research, obviously you will go as per your understanding of the market. So for example, in India, you need to have some understanding of what are the big banks. So in the private sector in India, if you look, HDFC Bank is the biggest bank. So yes, so the way you could start is you could say list of top 5 banks in India by market cap. Do you understand market cap?
Yeah, market capital. Yeah, I mean, I understand the base of it, but not so much.
Can you help me understand what is market capitalization?
No, not really, not very clearly.
Okay. So market capitalization is the total value of a company. So for example, say you have a house. So the value of your house is 1 crore and the value of your neighbor's house is 2 crores. So in the Indian market, so similarly for companies, you have the total value of the company. Indian market in the private sector banks, ICICI and HDFC are 1 and 2. And then you have Kotak and so on and so forth. So if you do a Google search by top 5 banks in India by market capitalization. And how you calculate market capitalization is, say, number of shares outstanding. So total number of shares outstanding for HDFC Bank in the market is 1 crore, and the price of each share is 100 rupees. So total market cap is 100 crores. Similarly, for ICICI Bank, the total number of shares outstanding is 1 crore, and the market price of each share is, say, 89 rupees. It's 89 crores. So that list you can get it from Google. So by experience, and because I have been in this market for long, I know HDFC and ICICI are top 2. 3, 4, I don't know. I'll have to Google it. But I know that the other famous ones are Kotak, Yes Bank. Obviously, Yes Bank had a bad time, but these are the other ones. So these are the top 4, and Axis. So these make the top 5 in the India. But then, having followed the market for a long time, I also know that HDFC is the one bank that has delivered consistent growth of 30% every year in profits. By which I mean that if last year HDFC Bank made a profit, if say in 2016 HDFC Bank made a profit of 100 crores, in 2017 they made 130 crores. In 2018 they made 170 crores. 30% of 130 crores is 39 crores. In 2019 they another grew by 30%. So they have consistently done it for the last 30 years. So that gives me confidence in that company. And how they do it is you will understand by looking at all this. But no other bank is able to match it. Then I will also go and look at their P ratio, which bank is overvalued, which bank is undervalued. So there are a lot of other things, but let's just go through the fact sheet now as to what they are trying to explain us through their fact sheet.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So on this page, what I can see is that they are talking about the GDP of India. So they are showing us that total GDP of India is around 200 trillion rupees. They're talking in rupees. So if you want to convert it to euros, it will be divided by 80. So around 2.5 trillion euros. So then they are showing how this GDP is made up of what components. So this GDP is made up of one, investment, which is maybe around, say, if I put a line here, around 40, slightly maybe 40, 50 trillion rupees. A very small portion is government consumption, and the rest of it is private consumption. Government consumption is stuff on which the government spends. Private is stuff on which people like you and me spend. And investment is what people invest. So let me see if Ranjit is trying to join. Just 1 second, Ranjit has been. So then here HDFC Bank is explaining to us that how they will take advantage of it. So HDFC Bank is saying it is well positioned in urban and rural markets. How is that? So basically they have branches everywhere in India. We know that. So when I say private consumption, this will be things like, say, for example, I want to buy a mobile or I want to buy a car. So HDFC Bank serves me by giving me auto loans. If I want to buy a mobile, they give us consumer durable loans. So in this area, they are going to make a lot of money. Now for a bank, it is very important this private consumption keeps going up. So this number is very interesting. So if you see in India, from 2017 to 18, the consumption has gone up. Okay, by looking at the chart, it was around 50, somewhere less than 100, right? Somewhere around 90 trillion rupees. And now if you see in 2018, it was closer to 100. And in 2019, it was more than 100. So you see consistent growth there. Okay, clear? Are you guys following me, or I'm talking something that you are not able to follow?
It's clear, yes.
Okay. Then they are also saying that they are the leading player across retail loan categories. So I just explained 2 categories. There can be so many more. And then they are also focusing on working capital finance and trade services. So this will be for the small businesses. So say I'm a restaurant owner and I need some money to run my business, 2-3 crores. So I go to HDFC Bank and take a loan. and I pay them 9%, whatever.
Hi Nishant, I'm there in call. Don't worry.
Yeah, clear?
Yes.
Akash and Neha. Hi, Ranjit.
Hi.
Hi. So we are just going through the fact sheet for HDFC Bank.
Okay. Fine.
Clear, Neha and Akash? Shall I proceed?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So the next is investment. So investment is like setting up large airports, or it could be setting up large manufacturing plants by the private sector or the government sector also.
Mhm.
So in this, they are providing term loans, they are providing loan syndication, they are providing working capital to capital goods manufacturers, and they are also providing project financing. So project to project. So if there is an infrastructure coming up, say for example, Bangalore, they are constructing a metro project, and HDFC Bank can lend to them and collect interest for many years to come. The third is the government. So HDFC Bank is one of the largest tax collectors for the government of India. So again, when they collect tax for the government of India, they charge some commission on that. They are a provider of cash management services for public sector, and they also e-enable some public services. So all this is generating fee income for them.
Can I know what is e-enabling the public services means?
So it could be, I don't know what all services they are providing because they have not given much details, but it could be like GST, etc., etc. So any kind of service that the government of India provides, HDFC Bank can be a facilitator. Online payments, all of that.
Okay.
So is there an ideal way of splitting this cost, like company looks into?
Sorry?
Is there an ideal way of splitting this cost, like the company looks into, or a bank which looks into, like we'll spend 30% on this, 40% on this? Is there ideal way?
The cost for whom? This is not a cost.
It's not a cost, but like the split up. I'm asking about the split up.
The ratio is asking like how they will be managed to give the, how they will
So
be
split
giving
for what? Private consumption, investment. See, based on the market, right? So in India, if you see clearly, private consumption is the largest segment. So that is the segment that HDFC Bank can make most money. So that would be serving the public, general public, by retail loans, by corporate loans, all of that. Because private sector is much bigger than the government. The government is a very small section, and then investment, because India is investing large amount of money in creating infrastructure, be it roads, railways, uh, ports, airports. Lot of infrastructure is being created in the country. So in that is the second largest segment, and the third is the government. So obviously the focus will be on private sector much more. So that's what HDFC Bank has done, right? Over the last 20-25 years, they got into credit cards. They started giving loans to people for consumer durables, home loans, etc. That's where they made most of their money.
Okay.
So basically the split will be based on the market size. So that is a very, very important thing. So that is why, that is the only negative in HDFC Bank that I see, that they are already very big. So they control a large share of the market, and they being the largest player, the room for growth is lesser. Whereas if you are a smaller player, you can take market share from HDFC Bank. You see my point?
Yes.
So for example, the total market is 100. HDFC Bank already controls 30 of it, but a new bank controls only 2% of that market. So for them, the growth can be much higher. But then that new player can take share from HDFC Bank only if they have a better product, only if they are providing either higher rate of interest to depositor or lower rate of interest to the borrower. But how can they do that? So those challenges come up. Okay. So on the next slide, they are mentioning that they are well positioned to get benefit across India's GDP spectrum. Then they are meeting diverse customer needs. So here they are explaining all their products. So all this, if you see, auto loan, personal loan, home loan, commercial vehicle finance, retail business, credit card, loan against gold, two-wheeler, all this will come under your private consumption. Okay. All this deposit, saving account, current account, all this comes under again the retail part. Here, one very important thing about HDFC Bank is they're very good in getting the salary accounts. So salary accounts are good because in salary account, hardly they will pay 2 to 3% interest rate to the depositor. But while they give out a loan to the borrower, they will charge 8 or 9%. So this is very profitable for HDFC Bank, because see, for a bank, the key thing is having a low cost of deposit. So if I can get 100 crores and I have to pay hardly 1% as interest, so 1 crore will go as interest, and then I have to lend that 100 crores at the maximum possible rate. So say I get 10%, so 10 crore will come to me. So that difference is called a spread between what I get from my borrower and what I give to my depositor. And that 9% is a huge number. So for every bank, that is the target, to keep increasing that. So reduce the deposit rate and increase the lending rate. But obviously, government has some controls. Otherwise, banks will charge anything for interest, which will not be allowed. Clear?
Yep.
Similarly, these are the other products they offer to retail. So they offer depository account, they offer mutual fund, they offer private banking, insurance, they offer NRI services. So all these caters to the private sector. Okay. Here under the loan, infrastructure loan, they have not mentioned. Maybe it comes under their commercial banking and all.
How much that should be? Nishant, one question here. How can we target that this bank is majorly customers are like a retail banking loan customers, or they are targeting the SME, like a small and medium scale industries? So there are banks in Germany. The company which I am working, generally their target is the salaried account. The personal loan is the one which will be getting huge number of profit in our bank. So, but we are planning to go for SME also in the near future. So how to know this breakdown, which is our asset, which is our profitable thing in the market?
For HDFC Bank, you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they should have given that information in the next few slides. So let's see. That information should be there in the next few slides. That only they need to provide, otherwise how we will know? So again, as I said, now they are a listed company, so they are bound to provide all the information. But if they don't provide, we really can't do much.
Okay.
Can any of you see how much time is left on the session? Because I cannot see, because I have to stop the share, then only I can go back. Okay, anyways, if the session ends, we will take a 5-minute break. Anyways, I'll update on WhatsApp. And then by that time that recording is ready, then I will start the next one.
Okay.
In case everyone is available. If not, we will end it and we will continue tomorrow. Yeah. So similarly here they are saying, so this is basically, this slide talks about what are the areas they are into. So they are virtually into, if you see, all kinds of things. Every segment they are into. So HDFC Bank is not focusing on one, they are into everything. But which is generating the maximum profit for them, that should come in the next few slides. Shall I move on?
Yeah.
You guys can go through this slide, and if there are any questions, you can come back to me. Anyways, we are recording, so you can go back and revise. And one question for you both, Akash and Ranjit. You were supposed to work on that OneNote document. You guys have done something on it?
I already prepared the OneNote. I hope you guys can see that one.
I haven't seen it. I will check it, Ranjit, today.
Okay, fine.
So now from here, it gets very interesting. Okay. So here they are showing how much deposit they have. So if you see, they have given two breakup, retail and wholesale. Again, I don't know what they have classified as retail and wholesale, but basically retail will be deposit like people like us. So I think maybe below 5 lakhs or something, and wholesale or maybe below 1 crore. And big company deposits will be wholesale. So for example, Infosys has an account with HDFC Bank. They keep 500 crores in that. That is a wholesale account. And I have an account with HDFC Bank and I kept 2 lakhs in it. That's a retail account. Clear the difference?
Yep.
So if you see, majority of the deposit comes from retail, but if you see, majority of the loan is going to the wholesale. So Ranjit, I think this answers your question.
Yep.
So ideally, if I see this, I have a huge opportunity to increase my retail advances. So I can push more retail loans. Okay, so all these which were there in the previous slide. So I can focus a lot on this. So I can focus on auto loans, personal loans. Personal loans is actually very profitable, by the way, for banks. That's why every day I got at least 3-4 calls. Sir, personal loan le lo.
Maybe you have a very good credit score.
No, because they get a lot of money, na. So when they call me, I say, yeah, they can give me how much they want. They should charge me only 2% interest. So then they cut the phone. So yeah.
So this can vary.
Yeah, that is the best way, right? Rather than arguing, they will say, no, sir, please give me 5 minutes. I will explain the product and all. So fine. I will take 100 crores rate of interest. Huh?
Listen, this can be negotiated. This value which they fix, for example, personal loan, can we negotiate as a client this value?
Yeah, you can always negotiate because it's a profitable product for them.
So that means every person will have a contract which will have a different rate of interest.
Yeah, but generally they won't agree, right? So negotiating is different and they agree. So generally they won't agree because obviously they are targeting you that you are in need. See, personal loan is a very high rate of interest loan. So that is why it is not recommended. Because ideally they have product for each sector. So say if you are buying a car, you need a loan to buy a car. Why do you need a loan to buy a car? Then you take a car loan. Why will you take a personal loan? You need a loan to buy a house. Then you will take a home loan. What happens is generally people don't have enough money to, the home loan doesn't cover the whole. Maybe they get only, if the property is 1 crore and you get only 70 lakh as home loan. The difference 30 lakh if people don't have, the rest 5 or 10 lakh they go for a personal loan. So even the bankers know that you are taking it because you are in dire need. They will obviously not reduce the interest. And in personal loan, in India, it's 13 to 14%. That's a very high rate of interest. So see, if you see in this slide, the wholesale part is almost 50% in terms of the loans that the bank has given. But if you see the profit is coming from retail, which clearly shows that compared to the wholesale business, the retail business is more profitable. Because I may have given 50-50 as loans. Okay, but I am getting much more profit from the retail side than from the wholesale side. Make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay. Then here, what are the things they are saying? Well-balanced loan mix between wholesale. Yeah, it looks well-balanced. They have a very large retail deposit base. We know that very well. Right? HDFC Bank has a lot of retail customers. And they are well positioned to grow both segments, which is wholesale and retail. So this is an interesting data. So this shows you where they have their branches, how many branches are there. So they total had 4,520 branches. So in the last 3 years, they have only grown the branches by 600, which is less than 20%. You see? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you see, they have grown their branches only by 20%, but the profit has grown by much higher than that, which means that each branch is doing a higher amount of business. So for example, branch A, which is in Bangalore, had total deposit of 500 crores and total advance of 480 crores. They have doubled their business. So now they have deposit of 1,000 crores and their loans of 960 crores. So that is a good thing, because any bank wants to do more business from the same branch rather than keep adding branches. Can one of you tell me why they would not want to add extra branches?
Of course, it's a cost, increasing cost.
Exactly. So what are the costs if I open a new branch?
They need to get approval. They need to get the
first thing is the land.
Many things.
The first thing is the place where you have to rent a place, or the cost which will be incurred based on the rent of a place or a buy of a place.
Exactly. Very good answer. Very good answer. So rent is a very important factor. So if HDFC Bank takes a place in Bangalore, they may have to pay 10 to 20 lakhs as rent just for one small branch. So that is a very big cost. Next.
Next is the operating cost, like you will be adding employees and then you have to pay them salaries. So you are adding your employee cost, so
Exactly.
operations cost.
Exactly. So employee cost. So these two are very, very important. So globally, all over the world, not just in India, most banks and all the senior CEOs and people of every bank has this target that you cannot grow the branches. You have to keep the number of branches same, but keep growing the business. So what they will do for that?
For existing branch only, they will try to expand the network.
And what else can they do? Ranjit,
Pressurize the people to work more.
sorry,
Pressurize the people to work more. To
that
find
is
more
always
clients.
there. That they are doing, but what is the good thing that they can use? So they will use AI, machine learning, robotics. So there is something called a robo advisor. You guys can read about it if you have time. So Ranjit, I was expecting this answer from you. You keep saying you are working.
This chatbot, I meant to say chatbot.
Not just chatbot. Basically, the banks are trying to automate a lot of things.
Yeah, digitalization is the one of the topic for bank for sure.
Exactly, exactly. So enabling online. So for example, I have an account with Citibank in India, and Citibank being a foreign bank in India has a limitation. They cannot open a lot of branches. So in Bangalore, they only have 4 or 5 branches. Whereas ICICI Bank can open as many branches as they want. So then how does Citibank grow its business? So they have enabled everything online. And this is not now, since last 15 years. So they have a very good call center, and even to reduce that cost, they have enabled even more online. So everything is very easily accessible online. And they keep sending emails and all, how to access the mobile app and all. So they are really investing a lot in digitization.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
so this is a
example,
very, very key theme, and it is very important. I think Ranjit, I think you are the one who works closely in that. I don't know about the other two if they are in the same industry, but for you, that is a very key theme.
okay. And even the call center calls is very important. For example, they don't want customers to call often for the call center guys. So they
Exactly.
call center guys to need to reduce the task for them. So number of, if you are reducing the number of calls, that is also one of the key factor.
Exactly, exactly. So now if you see the branch network, if you see it is very heavily concentrated in the north region. So in the Delhi, Punjab area, HDFC Bank is very, very strong in this region. If you see near to Ahmedabad and all that region also, they are very strong. I think this is probably
For
Maharashtra.
Mumbai region, it's not much. I feel like it's not so.
This is
Pune and
Mumbai, right?
Nashik.
This area is Mumbai. Here also they are quite strong. Then here near Bangalore, if you see, they have a huge
There's
cluster.
very good network in Kerala, if you say.
Yeah, Kerala, they are fully covered. See all the metros. So if you see, this is the area in and around Bangalore. This is the area in and around Chennai. This is the area in and around Kolkata, area around Delhi, and Mumbai is somewhere here. This is the Mumbai area. And
And
Ahmedabad.
just a small curiosity, Nishant, I have seen the HDFC Bank in a very remote village also in Bangalore. I don't, maybe it's a cost rent is expensive. That's the reason they dumped the branch there. I don't know.
No,
But yeah,
every branch will serve only 2 to 3 kilometers of area. Yeah, so I can see the timing, only 4 minutes is left. Okay, so it will end. So do you guys have time to continue, or we do the next session tomorrow?
We continue. For me, we can
it's
continue.
not a problem for me.
Okay.
Okay, for
Yeah,
all of you,
from
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will start after 15 minutes. So I think I have 3 more minutes. So 4:10 this will end. So 4:30. So 1 o'clock Paris time we will restart.
Okay.
But let this go on. So here they are giving the explanation. So they have 28% of their branches in metro, 31 in semi-urban, 19 in urban, and 22% in rural areas. So generally the metro branches are the most profitable. And here they have given, this is an interesting stat. So they have around 49 million customers, whereas India has a population about 1400 million. So they still have a lot of, so you would assume that out of 1400 million, at least 20%, so about 280 million people are quite well to do. So out of which HDFC Bank only has 50 million as customers. So they can double this in the next 5 to 10 years. So we can see that they have good opportunity to grow their business. And also each of these customer that they have, the 50 million odd customer they have, they can double their business with them also. So if I have 1 lakh deposit in HDFC Bank, I may double it to 2 lakhs if they give me good service. You see the point?
Yes.
So this shows that for the next 10 years, this company can give you good returns. Okay. Now coming to this. Yeah, so they have given their own breakup. So for any bank, CASA stands for current account, and so CA stands for current accounts, SA stands for savings account. So CASA is current account, saving account. So for any bank, they want more of CASA, current account, saving account, because that is very profitable for them, because there the rate of interest is very low. So if you see for HDFC Bank that is reducing, that may not be a very good thing. Okay, average balance in a saving account is going up. So like I was mentioning, right? Business from each customer. And here it shows the breakup of, so time deposit is like your FD.
Yeah.
And savings and current is called demand, on demand. Basically, you can demand the money anytime. So there is no fixed amount of time that the bank has that money for.
I do not know what is the difference between a current account and a savings account.
Difference between current account and savings account. So is that your question, Akash?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So a current account basically is usually for corporates where you are allowed to take an overdraft, but the rate of interest is usually 0. So you won't get any interest on it. And in a current account, you can make unlimited amount of withdrawals. So say for example, I am a small business and I have 10 crores in my current account. So say if I have 10 crores in my current account, I will not be paying any interest. The bank will not be paying me any interest, but I can withdraw 3 crore, 4 crore, how much ever I want in a daily. There is no transaction limit.
Yeah.
Whereas in a
There's
saving
also
account,